Hi, I'm Sarah, the Canine Family Planner. This is my SWWS, which is Sarah's Weekend Weekly Summary. So I'm going to summarise what my clients have been up to, what successes we've had and not this week. Plus, I'm also going to talk about puppy weigh-in and what benefits it can bring to you as a breeder if you decide to monitor your puppies when they're in the whelping box. You may have seen my post that I did on Tuesday, I think it was, saying pups have landed. It wasn't as straightforward as I was hoping it to be. Self-whelp and bulldogs generally is 50-50 basically, or less than that. I was hoping, because it was a small litter and she has self-whelped a puppy before, that I might get a self-whelp. And I gave her all the opportunities I could, probably more than most, because I could track the progesterone testing, and I've got the ultrasound scanner, so I could also check puppies' heartbeats as well, and yet it still didn't go in my favour. So the vets were happy for me to hold out a bit longer, but I decided that I just wanted to get the pups out. And then retrospectively, as they always say to me, yeah, you did the right thing. They didn't really have a smooth delivery, even though Amy went into first stage labour. She didn't kick into second stage labour, so she had 0 contractions and then decided that she wanted to go asleep. Which obviously isn't the natural path when you're in labour, and hence why they come out through the sunroof, so to speak. And they're doing all really good. One of the girls was just really whiny and she didn't want to feed. So I did a minor milk top up, and then I think she realised that she was hungry and she was whining because she was hungry, and she actually needs to feed to not feel hungry. So once she got her head around that, she was fine. So they're both feeding really well, but I have got an issue with them, so we'll cover that later. But hello everybody, thank you for joining me. As usual, just ask any questions as we go. I'm hoping the lighting's okay. It's all higgledy-piggledy. So I'm hoping that you can see me okay and the sound is all good, but I'm sure you'll tell me if that's not the case. So what's happened in regards to my clients this week? So I've had quite a lot of successes actually. I scanned a Bulldog in pup with 5. I did the bloods and I did the AI. So they're super happy. The female has had a litter before, but the dog was maiden. So this is his first litter and he's now proven. So everybody's happy in that respect. I scanned a French Bulldog with 6. I scanned another French Bulldog with 7. I did the bloods on this female. I haven't got any blood numbers because I just couldn't be bothered to look through my spreadsheet. Being otherwise occupied. But this French Bulldog had previously missed, and the owner didn't know anything about ovulation testing and all the rest of it. So I explained it to her, as I always do with anybody that I scan with a miss. I don't really go, you must do this. I just go, well, maybe you might want to consider this, this and this. I think we did 3 sets of bloods with her. She used a fairly, well, local stud dog to me, but not to her. And she's over the moon that I've scanned her with 7 pups, so she's super happy. A Labrador that I did the bloods and I did an AI, maiden dog and maiden bitch. They were both totally clueless. Owners were trying to get them together and it just wasn't happening. So I said, let's do an AI. And I actually shared the video on Homescan, or I think it was Homescan page, and it was a semen collection where I collected from him and it was okay-ish. And then we did a second collection, and then he gave the full amount basically. He was just slightly holding back on the first one. And that was the only reason. He just obviously wasn't comfortable being maiden. Now, interestingly enough, I've scanned her and she is in pup, but only with 2. So slightly disappointing, because a Labrador, you would expect a decent sized litter, 8+. But they're happy being both maiden and that they've got pups on the way. So they're happy, I'm happy. I've scanned another Bulldog with 2, didn't have any involvement apart from scanning. Another French Bulldog with 6, again, no involvement. I've scanned an American Bulldog with 8, and I did the bloods with this girl. And this is quite interesting because I actually run her bloods at the same time as doing a Bulldog blood. So a Bulldog and American Bulldog bloods were run in the system. They both come back that they had ovulated, and I advised that both dogs or owners when to mate. Off they went. The American Bulldog had 2 AIs, a day later than I planned, because when they went for the first mating, it ended up all on the floor because the stud owner wanted to do a natural mating, and then they went back the next day and said, no, let's just do an AI. The Bulldog had 3 AIs, and the American Bulldog took and the Bulldog missed. And it just goes to show that they both owners, like, it's the same day, the same machine ran at the same time, and yet one owner's got pups and the other one hasn't. The Bulldog owner that hasn't, she's also had a bitch before miss, and I just find it a bit weird that she's had 2 misses, blood's not doing anything crazy, admittedly to the same stud dog, but he side other litters, so I don't know whether it's a case of environmental for her dogs, so whether there's something at home that's upsetting the kilter, whether maybe they need to be on wheat germ oil, maybe the diet needs to be looked at, too much pee in the diet, I don't know, or that her bitches are too too acidic for the stud dog, and that maybe if they used a semen enhancer that would help, or use a different stud dog. And it's nothing against the stud dog, it's just compatibility wise they just don't seem to be working. So it'd be interesting to see what that owner decides to do, because there's definitely no reason why she should have had both bitches miss. And then I've scanned a pug in pup with 1. No blood testing, but she was boarded with the stud owner, had numerous matings. The only sort of concern with this was that when I scanned her bladder looked non-typical, shall we say. So whether that be bladder infection, might be cystitis, the lining's inflamed, crystals, whatever, I don't know, it's not for me to diagnose. But basically I referred to vet and said she's definitely got 1 pup. I always feel that it's worth rescanning when you have a solo pup. So they're slightly disappointed because I think she had 4 or 5 on her first litter. But I don't know whether the cystitis has had an impact on pH levels or what, I don't know. But she's got 1 and that's it. Just an update on bloods. Well, I had actually it was a general update on weird stuff. I posted up about the chilled AI from a Great Dane that I sent to Holland, and that got there all okay. The bitch owner was slightly panicky because she had quite a long journey her end to the fertility clinic, and then they delayed stuff and all the rest of it. But it did get in on time, so fingers crossed. I'll update you with the success of that. This is the first time that he's a proven stud dog anyway, but it's the first time that we've sent chilled with him, so that's quite exciting. I had a contact from some cockapoo owners that were trying to mate their dogs, both maiden. She said the bitch was substantially bigger than the male, so he just wasn't tall enough. They're friend of a friend or friend of the family. Basically, I've done work for them before, and I said, I'll just do AI, it's easier. They brought the dogs to me and he wasn't having any of it. I find some Cocker Spaniels, like purebred, can be quite aloof when it comes to scanning. There's not many dogs I haven't been able to scan, but the ones that I haven't been able to have been Cocker Spaniels, funny enough, of all the dogs. And generally we still get them scanned, but the owner has to have the probe and actually be running it over the dog, which means numbers are unlikely to be accurate, but at least we can confirm pregnancy. Anyway, this cockapoo, he was like, I don't know who you are, what you're doing, but I'm not keen for any of it. So I recommended that we did an AI at his premises where he lives, his location. I said, try them before I get there and just see whether he's super keen. And hopefully if he is, I can sort of intercept at the last minute. Anyway, as soon as I arrived, he's not having any of it. So I basically left the owners the kit and some real basic instructions of good luck. This is what you try and need to do. Otherwise, it's a case of finding a new stud dog. He's just really not keen on anyone being involved in the process apart from him. And he's not doing very well at it. So that was an interesting one. And then I did have a Bulldog bloods that we run. She was day 6 of season. I think it's last chance saloon basically. She's an older bulldog, so owners wanted to be sure that they do the best they can to get her in pup. She was day 6 and she come back at 68 nanograms, which is insane. So I said either you've missed some days or she's had a few silent days before she's coming properly. What we don't know is we haven't been able to track how fast she's gone up. So even though technically over 30 nanograms is like don't bother mating, if they've gone up that quick, it's still worth doing. So lucky enough, the stud dog was on the way home from me. So they've covered her on the way home, and I'll let you know whether that's been successful or not. So that's a pretty busy week as far as I'm concerned in regards to customers and me still rearing pups and dealing with everybody at the same time. I did have to bump a few people around just because Monday didn't go to plan, but we got there in the end. So let's talk about puppy weighing and is it worth it or not. So I'm going to reintroduce myself because I reuse this content if you haven't realised. So I need to reintroduce myself. So hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Sarah, the Canine Family Planner, and I'm going to talk about puppy weighing and what benefits it can bring to you as a breeder and why it's worth doing. Now, old school breeders probably don't weigh and they can say, oh, I can tell whether a puppy's thriving or not, and I can sort of sense it all by eye. I am a stickler for weighing, and I believe that everybody should weigh their pups, particularly if you're a novice breeder, because it's really hard to be able to judge whether a puppy's doing okay, unless mum's like flicking it out the bed or it's cold or wailing. If it's sort of wiggling around like the rest of the pups in the litter, how are you ever going to know? And also it can identify problems sooner for you. Now, I know some people don't like weighing for the first 3 or 4 days because typically puppies will lose weight, and that's not anything to be worried about. If they've had they're basically born retaining water, they're obviously going to wee that water off, and milk might not be in yet fully from mum, so they can lose some weight because all at that for the first initial 1-2 days it's just colostrum, which is needed for their immune system, so that's all fine, but they're basically expending a lot of energy not to get any nutrition back, so to speak, enough nutrition back, so they can lose weight for the first 3-4 days, and I don't think that's anything to worry about. So I get it if some people go, I'm not going to bother doing it for the first 3 days. I like to still, because I like to know what they were born at, and I like to know how much they lose, and I like to know when they get back to their basically get back to their birth weight, and then once they start going higher than that. So when it comes to weighing, obviously you need to write this stuff down. Not rocket science. And obviously if you've got my playbook, and I know some of you will be like, oh, I want your playbook, but you've not sent it to me yet. In the playbook, there is a whole puppy record sheet, and you can download this. So if you go to caninefamilyplanner.com/Facebook, when you log in, this is one of the free downloads, so you can actually just print it off for yourself. But basically, it just for you to record for each puppy what their weight is, whether they're gaining or losing, and if so, by how much. It also highlights when they hit their first weight gain and when they go above birth weight. Now, the thing that you need to do is you need to be consistent. So you need to basically weigh at the same time every day. So like with these pups, 6 o'clock feed, I always do their weigh-in, and I always do it after I've toileted them. Okay, so you just need to be consistent on when you're doing it, basically what time and what the routine is, whether it's before a feed, after feed, just keep consistent with that. Okay, and then you can track it, and you'll be able to see how much each puppy is gaining or not. So, and this is what's raised an issue with the 2 pups that I've got, that even though they're really good feeders, so they basically, they're not kept with mum, so it depends on your breed. Some breeds you can keep mum and puppies together, it's no drama. Bulldog people, if you're not observing them 24/7, which I don't, because guess what, I have to go to work. plus I have to walk and exercise my current dogs, plus I have to do Facebook lives. So I'm not sat with them constantly just staring at them. I have other things to do. So I keep the puppies separate. Mum's all happy, she's not bothered. If she was freaking out, and I've had, I remember with a French Bulldog litter, I tried to separate them, she was having none of it. So, no, keep them all together, that's fine. But Bulldog mums generally don't care if they're separate. But what you need to, I've gone off on a tangent, I can't even remember what I was going to say. I get them separate. But I did the 6 o'clock feed. So with these, they are good feeders. So that's where I was coming to. So I have people feed differently. So some people will go, well, I set the timer. Once I've finished, I set it for 2 hours and then I come in and do it every 2 hours. If, again, which this isn't in the, you can't download it, but I have a whole recommended feeding timetable. And basically I stick to 3, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, because then I always know on the hour that I should be doing a feed, and I know when those feeds should be. So I know when I can plan other stuff in and when I need to get back. I find if you just set the timer 2 hours after you've finished, sometimes it'll be a 30-minute feed, sometimes it'll be a 40-minute feed because you've got to clean everything out, and the times just seem to move around too much. So I quite like doing 3, 6, 9, 12 twice a day. So off the back of that, basically, when I put the pups on, generally I want them to feed for at least half an hour. I think I've seen people say like 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes for every hour. So 3 hours would be 30 minutes. If I'm not in a rush, I leave them on longer. If I'm got things to do, then they'd just go back. But obviously I'm monitoring weight. So if the weight's not good, then I would leave them on longer. Or if there's something not quite right, then obviously I'm going to look into it a bit more. Let me just pick up on the messages, which I can't see on my phone. And let me look on here quickly. Agree with weighing, you know which ones need to go on first. Yeah, so that helps you. What it also does is some teats are better than others. So if you've got one that isn't gaining weight as well, it means you know to put them on the better flowing teats. And if you've got a chunky one or a porky one, you know you can risk putting them on a harder to flow teat. And so it definitely enables you to do that. I weigh straight, for Lisa, I weigh straight away every evening, same time. Yeah, exactly. Consistency there, totally agree. Is a 5-year-old, right? I'll come back to you, Emma. I'll come to you at the end. What age is that from newborn? Yes, what in regards to weighing? So I know, Louise, you were really good because you posted up your whole whiteboard. I was proper impressed. A whole whiteboard full of all the weights that you've been writing down every day. And that's good because particularly if your puppy rearing duties are shared between people in the household, you need to write stuff down so they can clearly see, oh, okay, this one's lost less, you know, the most weight. Let's put them on a better teat, or let's give them an extra 5 minutes. I'll take that one off last. So definitely having it written down is super good. I always weigh, as soon as I come back to the vets, whatever it fits into my 3, 6, 9, 12, whatever that next feed is, that's when I do my weigh-in, and then I just do it every day from that point onwards. So yeah. What's Jodie said? Gain or maintain every day after 3 days for me. Yeah, exactly. So that brings me on to, what if they aren't gaining or maintaining after the 3 days? What do you do? So it's highlighting that there are problems because you're being proactive, you're weighing them, you're giving them the best chance possible by putting them on the best possible teats and that kind of stuff. So if there is a problem, what is the problem? And this is where we hear about fading puppy syndrome, which is just an umbrella term. It's basically something's not right, puppy's failing, and we don't really know what it is. So with this litter, because it was a difficult birth and they'd aspirated during the C-section, I had asked for antibiotics. You can get aqua drops. The vet was like, you don't need them, but I was like, well, I want them, so she gave them to me because it's not worth, they're like nearly 45 minutes an hour from me. So if something was to go wrong, it's going to take me a while to get there. So because we knew of the birth, I had that in the back of my mind. Okay, then let's just start them on the antibiotics, and I'm not going to take any risks. And actually, the one that was a bit of a whiny finicky feeder, I actually only started her on them first. The other one's always been fine. And so I just started her on them, and she did pick up after some antibiotics and some supplement feeding. Now, if you have got ones that are difficult or don't seem to be feeding well, it is that whole chicken and egg, or should you supplement? I would only supplement a poorly puppy, not the whole litter. So just because you've got a big litter, I wouldn't supplement feed, because that basically that mum needs to make the milk to the demand of what's needed. So by you supplement feeding, you're actually going to tell mum she doesn't need to produce any more, and then you're going to make a rod for your own back, because then you're going to have to supplement more because she's not producing enough. So if you've got healthy pups and it's just a big litter, just hold out as much as you can. And if you do supplement, just do the odd 1 or 2 per feed, or every other feed or something, literally just to top up, as Jodie said, either to gain or maintain. I wouldn't be going guns in blazing, doing it all. So for the litter of 11 that a bitch I co-owned, she had a litter of 11. Ashley and Andrew Walker reared the litter, basically their first litters in the deep end, and they rotated the supplement feeding, so it was only like 1 or 2 every feed, got a top up basically, so mum still knew she needed to produce a decent amount of milk. But if you've got a failing puppy, so you need to think about is basically, are they warm? That's obviously the one of the basic ones. Are they warm? Are they toileting correctly? If they're not, it's probably because they're not feeding. If they're not feeding, how can you fix that? So you need to think about mum's milk. Is it of good quality? Is it in? If it isn't, how are you going to fix that problem? Is it going to be supplement feeding? Does that then fix the toileting? Obviously warm enough, they should have the right environment you should be rearing them in, but you might need antibiotics. So there could be other stuff, it could be bacterial or viral, or they could have a birth defect. There's other things to think about. When it comes to feeding though, generally it's just, are they eating enough? Are they feeding long enough? And are they maintaining or gaining the weight? So what I found from this litter, so just to go from my experience of Amy, so her first litter was co-owned, and I didn't rear them because her owner basically reared them, because she wanted to learn about breeding. She had her to show and then wanted the next step. We haven't done that this time round because her owner's currently got a 3-month-old baby and literally moved house. So I said, no, that's fine, she can come back to me. So what I did remember is that the pups were very slow. So she had a litter of 9 on her first litter. And this is again why it's good to write stuff down, because you can refer back to it on different litters. She had a litter of 9. They were a little bit scrawny. They were okay, but they were scrawny, and they didn't really pick up until they started weaning, and then they started to chunk up. And it had no long-term effects on them because at least 3 out of the litter had been shown and doing really well. So, they turned out nice puppies. But from that 0 to 4 weeks, they were a bit scrawny. And then once we got to 4 to 8 weeks, we were able to chunk them up. So what I found with this litter is, though there's just the 2, mum's milk was in way before, tons of it, literally squeeze a teat in it, milk here, there and everywhere. Pups are feeding really well, but they're not gaining. So, and what am I on now? Let me look at my sheet. If they had a gain, it's like minor. It's like 1/4 of an ounce, which is not anything. But what am I on? I'm on day 6 now, and neither of them are at birth weight. Okay. So this didn't really stack up because they're feeding well. They're content puppies, put them away, they sleep, they're chilled, they're happy, but they're just not gaining. So what that tells me is, though mum's got milk, it's rubbish milk. And that kind of ties in with what she did on her first litter. But we obviously assumed that it's because she had a bigger litter and that's why they were just a bit scrawny. This is litter 2 and they're still not right. So I have been supplement feeding, but literally only minor and only to the one that's the lightest. And my hope is that basically we can do what I have done is I've changed mum's food. So I've upped her to a higher quality food in case that was having an impact. And I will do minor supplements to get them where they need to be. And then really all I'm hoping for now is eyes open and I can start weaning, and I'll wean early. So where most breeds will wait till 3 weeks, hopefully eyes are open latest 2 weeks, and I'll just start weaning from 2 weeks. So though they're happy pups and they're healthy because they're plodding around, and what I couldn't get my head around is like, well, milk's in, they're feeding really well, and they're pooing enough as well. It's not like they're not toileting, but obviously the quality of what is going in isn't really good enough to gain any weight for them. So at the moment they did lose minor, and now they're sort of maintaining, but obviously I want them to be, they should be way above birth weight now, but they're not. But I'm not fretting because I understand what the situation is. So I'm going to look at my comments because I've yabbited on and not read what's gone. Louise, 36912 feeds I meant. Oh, I do that from day one. So 36912, and then I drop the 3 o'clock feed at 10 days. And then all gets jiggled about from there. But it's all... yeah, I probably do feed less than most, to be honest. I've never lost a pup through it, so I'm going to carry on doing what I normally do. But I on here, I don't know if you can see, but I did up the first day for colostrum, because it did make me, when I retrospectively looked at things, I did think that maybe not having enough colostrum can impact digestion and weaning long term. So actually on here, I recommend for the first day to do like, well, there's 12 feeds. And then by the next day, you can drop it to 8 feeds. And then by day 10, yeah, you're dropping it to whatever feeds it is. I don't know, 7 or whatever it is. But if you've got this, it's got full details in it. So you need to get hold of this. Jodie, I don't supplement feed personally. A poorly pup would get, yeah, to rehydrate. Yeah, true, very true. Yeah, so if the puppy's not right, it's unwell, cold to touch, not moving, limp, yeah, then ramming food down its mouth isn't going to help. You just need to give it some form of treatment. So it's going to probably need antibiotics, and when the pup's that little, there's only so much we can do. So we kind of want antibiotics to be the miracle cure, and obviously it's not going to be all the time. But I personally do antibiotics and rehydrate. And so for me, I use liquid life aid, but I know you've got oral aid, and there's tons of other stuff out there. I've never used liver water. Everyone swears by liver water. I don't have time to be like boiling up bits of liver and all that rubbish. Like when I wean, years ago, people will be scraping beef. Got no interest in doing that. I'll just buy raw canny and baby dog mousse. But each to their own. But I'm a person, I like to keep it quick and simple and easy. But yeah, I totally agree. If the puppy's that poorly, ramming food down it's not going to help. A poorly pup, yeah, oral aid. Yeah, okay, so Louise, yeah, exactly what I just said. Have you got Mama on raw? No, so she was on, she's normally fed a kibble. She's on a wet complete though. So it's not a raw, but it is a wet complete, which I tend to do with my bulldogs the last 2 weeks of pregnancy to help reduce the chances of water pups. And she's spayed, to be honest now. So, and I don't think that's had any different, that won't have had any difference on her milk production because it's in, or the quality of it. But yeah, it might have been worth trying her on raw and seeing long term what difference that might have made on another litter, but she's not going to have another. I've always just done the wet, not raw, just complete wet, and I've never had any problems with this. So anyway, I have upped her, so she's now on kibble puppy, and the wet I've changed to puppy as well, because I think that was an adult. And I have got some raw. I could try it. The pups I will actually wean onto raw, so there's no reason for me not to do it. But it's just not what I've previously done with my pregnant females, but there's no reason not to. So yeah, I think I wrote in my book anyway about red meat is really good for milk production. But in this instance, I just don't think it's going to help her. But maybe if I tried it, I would definitely know. So maybe I've been a bit lazy there. No one's perfect. But yeah, so basically that's my summary of why we should be weighing daily, how it can give you a head start, and hopefully for you to be able to help your puppies and start putting some measures in place before they get to the point of them being poorly and unwell. If you've got any questions, then fire them up. But once again, it's like past, so I've yabbited on for ages. But if you want to know what the puppy record sheet looks like, then you can download it. As I say, go to caninefamilyplanner.com/Facebook. If you register for the Home Breeders Hub, it's in there. You can literally save it, download it, print it, do whatever you want to do with it. The puppy feeding guide, you need the book. In regards to the book, everything's back from the formatters now, which took way longer than I thought. I had to do 4 revisions of it at the formatters. But ebook, Kindle version's all good. Printed version is now, well, on Monday will be sent to the printers. I've got my ISBN number, which is a little bit exciting, a little bit geeky, a little bit exciting, which means it's a proper book now. So I'm so hoping that the printers can churn them out for me in time before Christmas so I can get them out to everybody, because I really wanted to finish the year that everybody's got them. If you want to buy it, caninefamilyplanner.com/book. As you say, you're getting 2 for 1. It's the book bundle. Once I get them from the printers, then that's it. It's going up to full price, and you won't be able to buy the playbook yet anyway. If there's no questions, as usual, I'll come round and answer them afterwards. Hopefully you found this useful. I'll be tuning in again next Sunday. Who knows what I'm talking about.